We talked about UW Health a little while ago, but also SSM. They are simply changing DEI language to, quote, diversity language or to helping marginalized communities. But it's the same stuff, Dan. This is like playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah, they have used this phrase, diversity, equity, inclusion since basically 2020. And now when they're caught discriminating based on race and other factors, they simply change the name. The newest iteration of this from UW Health and SSM is called Social Impact and Belonging. But when you look down at what they're actually doing, on one of their web pages, they tout that social impact and belonging means hiring based on race. They said that they spent $1 million to hire 6 black women based on race to help 200 black birthing persons. DEI has, just morphed into something else. UW-Madison has changed the name of their program from DEI to Inclusive Excellence, but it's all the same, and especially virulent in the healthcare world, where patients are literally getting different treatments based on whatever their race is in order to make up for some sort of disparity among races, which is not individualized healthcare, but it's group-based healthcare.
Yeah, so you're saying that we only have to hire only black women because there are 200 black women in Madison having babies. So we need to hire only black women for those 200 black women. That is a direct violation of the law. I don't know how many different ways you can, stand on your head. You can't make that not a violation of the law.
Yeah, we've seen this. I mean, nationwide, this is a problem. We actually put out a report under about 55 different programs that the Health and Human Services Department is running at the federal level that discriminates based on race in hospitals all around the country that are discriminating based on race. And what they say things like, well, this community has a certain number of makeup of race, and so we need nurses that, quote, look like the community. We need doctors that, quote, look like the neighborhood. And so they'll explicitly hire doctors and nurses and promote doctors and nurses and other people based on race because they feel like you're not going to get good health care from a doctor of a different race, which is not borne out by any evidence. Obviously, there's no studies that talk about outcomes are better based on race of your doctor. Actually, the opposite is true in a lot of cases. That there is no evidence of sort of this racial bias in healthcare, and so they're changing the way they treat people based on race and giving preferences to some racial groups over others in order to sort of even out the results. So that's what they want at the end of the day, is that all racial groups have equal outcomes. And so if we have to lower the outcomes from some majority group, then it's better for everybody in the long run.
See, that's the problem, is that the majority group outcomes get lowered. That's how you get to equality, according to the left, according to the people who are idiots and who do this, and who are going to put black pregnant women at risk because they've decided the most important thing is that whoever's taking care of them looks like them, exactly like them, presumably. You can't have a man, even a black man, take care of a black pregnant woman. That's idiotic. So you're going to end up putting people at risk by doing this. But so I would ask, right, so I only get, a white female doctor. Is that how it would work for me? I get a white female doctor. They're going to hire only white female doctors for white women, and they're going to hire white male doctors for white men. Wrong. They won't do it that way. We'll get to the Supreme Court case here in a second. What they want to say is that, the white patients or the white physicians or the white nursing staff, those people have to see their outcomes decline in order to racially balance the outcomes. And so if the hiring those 6 black women actually provides worse care for those 200 black pregnant women, then we need worse care for the other pregnant women who are non-black.
Yeah, we saw kind of a really troubling story a few years ago out of Boston, which an emergency room hospital set up separate waiting areas for black and white patients because they felt like in the area of chest pains, this is a clinic you go in if you're experiencing chest pains, that black patients had worse outcomes. And so they had to have this sort of like special waiting area for black patients. and their plan was to increase the outcomes, make things better for these particular black patients by giving them sort of an express pass to an emergency room doctor, and without controlling for the fact that perhaps individual patients have individual needs, and you should treat them as individuals. They just decide they want to lump together all the black patients into this one group and give them express pass to the emergency room.
Okay.
And
yeah. So
that's how it works in practice.
Right. In practice, it says we need dead white guys from heart attacks. Even though we're going to have dead black guys from heart attacks, we're going to get the percentage comparison to look better on paper. That's what they're saying. So UW and SSM are all in. We have executive orders. We have Supreme Court decisions. We have a Supreme Court decision recently, and we can talk about this, that says reverse discrimination is discrimination. I can't even believe we use phrases like reverse discrimination, but we do. Reverse discrimination is discrimination. So we're talking about violating all kinds of different court precedent, clarification of the law, multiple laws, Dan?
Yes, that's, this recent 9-0 decision on the Supreme Court is really indicative of what's really the state of the law. This was a woman named Marlene Ames, who was a heterosexual woman, and she was discriminated based on her sexuality, she believed. She lost out to a lesbian woman for promotion, was demoted and replaced by a gay man. She filed a lawsuit, and the federal court said, whoa, wait a minute. You're in the majority. You are a straight person. You have to prove extra stuff. You have to prove that your employer has a history of discrimination against straight people in order for your case even to proceed. And the Supreme Court rejected that in a 9-0 opinion written by Justice Jackson, who might be the most liberal member or most progressive member of the court. And in this unanimous opinion, she not only said with regard to sexuality, but with regard to race, that our civil rights laws, whether they protect for race discrimination or sexuality or sex discrimination, that they protect individuals. They do not protect groups, and that you don't have to prove extra evidence if you're the member of a majority group. And by the way, women, in this particular case, women are in the majority, so it's not like women get diminished rights. And if you live in an area where there are black majorities, like, say, Detroit, Michigan, are we really going to say that, a black majority plaintiff in Detroit has to prove extra things in order for his case to proceed? No, we'd never say that. Discrimination is about individual treatment by bad actors, and that's what you have to prove, is that you were the victim of discrimination, not that your group was the member of a discrimination, and you need some sort of cosmic justice doled out.
Well, and that it took a Supreme Court case, that's obvious. Would you not say that's obvious? But it took a Supreme Court case to actually say, no, you can't do that. It's illegal. Incidentally, we are seeing this. I don't know if you've been checking in on this story from time to time. Chris Rufo has been posting about Lockheed. Lockheed is taking away bonuses from white employees and giving those bonuses to black employees because DEI. They're caught red-handed doing this. And this is a scandal that's been, kind of rolling out for the past couple of days.
Yeah, they were literally telling managers, you need to remove these white people from the list of people who are going to get bonuses. Now, very interesting.
Because they're white.
We are following this very closely. I looked up just on Friday and noted that Lockheed Martin actually just received federal contracts and payments from the federal government, all based on certifications that they are not discriminating based on race. And so if you're a federal contractor or you are a hospital receiving tons of federal money, like SSM and UW Health, you are certifying to the federal government that you are actually not doing any of this stuff. And you risk losing your federal funds if you are caught. And so whether it's UW University of Wisconsin, whether it's a hospital system, whether it's a federal contractor, there are real consequences to perpetuating this DEI. It's going to hit these people in their pocketbooks. It's going to hit their shareholders and their owners in their pocketbooks if they just want to keep on doing the DEI, because frankly, the Trump administration's fed up, and they're just not going to give federal money to these groups that keep perpetuating discriminatory DEI.
Well, Lockheed, that's easy. You pull Lockheed's contracts and you give them to Boeing. Not that Boeing has got a great track record lately, nor does Lockheed. They used to, but you say you certified you were not doing this, you are doing this, therefore we are going to pull those federal contracts, but they got to start doing it. The hammer has to fall. The threat of the hammer falling is one thing. But look at Wisconsin. You've got Jill Underly, Tony Evers. I don't care what executive order is or what Supreme Court case is out there. They're doing exactly what they have been doing. They're bragging about it. They won't comply with ICE. They won't comply with DEI. They won't comply with the executive orders on trans. They won't comply with the Title IX advice, et cetera. And they're getting lower court judges to support them.
Well, this just, I caution people, it's been only about 150 days since Trump took office. We're still very at the very beginning of this administration. And there have been some setbacks in the lower courts, but it's all just a matter of delay. It's just delaying the Trump agenda, delaying his executive orders. At the end of the day, I'm confident that these initiatives, these anti-discrimination initiatives from the president are going to go through, and that these companies and institutions that are discriminating based on race are going to be held accountable.
Yeah, you've got to hope. What does that mean, to a group like SSM UW Health? They get federal money. They also get, if they're attached to the University of Wisconsin, I'm not sure how much state money flows in. But is that something that potentially penalizes the state of Wisconsin too, if there's budget dollars that are earmarked in any capacity for anything attached to the UW system? Yeah,
I think that's definitely, something that the legislature is looking into, and they should continue to look into, is what we are getting for our dollars that are going to support the entire UW system, and whether they actually need taxpayer money. I mean, they get only a percentage of their entire budget comes from the federal government. They get a lot of their own money through tuition and fees and research projects and all sorts of things. There's a lot of money sloshing around the UW system, and the fact that we keep having to pump in, state dollars every year is something that the legislature should look at to decide whether we want our tax dollars supporting these institutions.
Yeah, you've got federal money. You seem to want to play fast and loose with federal money. They will demand they lose the federal money or even a portion of the federal money. If there's even a pause on the federal money, you will see them scream that the legislature and the state of Wisconsin taxpayers has to pick up the slack. I guarantee that is what is going to happen. On this UW Health SSM, these two systems merged. And so, it's not like you can go, you have a choice to try to take your dollars elsewhere. That's why force is going to be necessary. That's why the law exists, so that people are not stuck being discriminated against or being treated otherwise unfairly just because the people at the top, a very small cadre of people at the top, have decided politics should guide everything.
Yeah, if you want merit in anywhere in America, you would hope it would be at your hospital and at your doctor's office. You want the most qualified people providing the best care to you and your family based on what they need as an individual, and not based on the fact that they just need some less treatment or some more treatment based on what we view as some racially disparate outcome that we need to fix here because we're social justice warriors. That's not the type of doctor you want. Not the type of healthcare. And we do have fewer choices in Wisconsin in healthcare. We have more expensive choices. We have some of the highest healthcare costs in the country. And so, we need to think about how we can reform these healthcare systems to provide more care and cheaper care and better care.
More care, cheaper care, better care. Thank you so much, Dan, for coming on the program today.
Thank you.